when they weren't arguing who's a bigger racist. Democrats spent the debate tonight explaining why a socialist shouldn't be their 2020 nominee. They worried it might lead to this.
If you keep on going, we will elect Bernie. Bernie will lose to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump and the House and the Senate and some of the state houses will all go red.
If we cannot pull this party together, if we go to one of those extremes, we take a terrible risk of re-electing Donald Trump.
Not only is this a way to get Donald Trump re-elected, we got a House to worry about. We got a Senate to worry about.
And they're all raising their hand all the time. It's class time. Joining me now, Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary, Fox News contributor, along with Chris Hahn, former aide to Senator Chuck Schumer, host of the Aggressive Progressive podcast, and pollster Frank Luntz. Ari, your big takeaway tonight, you watched.
Well, my big takeaway from a Democratic point of view is that they survived. Nobody really bombed this time. Bloomberg bombed last time. He didn't bomb this time, so he's kind of saved himself to fight for Super Tuesday. Biden actually did decently. He came across as somewhat articulate, somewhat with energy. It was a different Joe Biden tonight, which is huge for him on the eve of South Carolina. But face it, Laura, it's a three-way race. It's Bernie, Bloomberg, and Sanders.
When you look at the way this is going, Chris, now, doesn't it seem that after New Hampshire, it became fairly clear who the three were going to be? I mean, Ari's right. It's down to those three. Tom Steyer is just blathering up there. And, you know, Klobuchar, she was very intent on what she was saying. And Buttigieg tried to be very earnest. But none of those guys none of those people are going to be president. So they're just making it more likely that Bernie becomes the ultimate nominee. I'm going to stick to what I said weeks ago on this, that if you don't drop out and coalesce behind one alternative to Bernie, Bernie's going to run away with this. This will be over by, first week, second week of March.
So, yeah, I mean, Bernie is definitely in the driver's seat. I agree with you on that. However, what Biden did tonight might help him. He took a nice attack on Steyer on the private prison investment. And if he could back that up with ads, that could cut into what Steyer has done to him in South Carolina. If you look at the polls in South Carolina, he's not really losing ground because Bernie's gaining ground. He lost a lot of ground to Steyer, who's made an overwhelming investment in South Carolina as his last stand state. So what Biden did tonight was very strategic. He had a good debate. And who knows, maybe this can help him have a bigger margin of victory on Saturday in South Carolina and propel him into Super Tuesday as a real contender.
I just loved how Biden did everything in the Obama administration. It was basically all his idea all night long. It was like, well, I did that. Well, Barack did. It was hilarious. I mean, I don't think Barack probably gave him much except Girl Scout pinning ceremonies or something. I don't know what he gave Biden, but he took credit for all of it. All right, Frank, I do think there is one weakness that was exhibited from Bernie Sanders tonight, and this is how he tripled down on it. Watch.
Cuba made progress on education. Yes, I think. Really? Really?
Yes, because there's no comparing those two
What Barack Obama said is they made great progress on education and health care. That was Barack Obama. America has overthrown governments all over the world. When dictatorships, whether it is the Chinese or the Cubans, do something good, you acknowledge that.
And Hamas builds all those schools. Frank, where else does this hurt Bernie beyond Florida?
Well, you're right, because 3 times tonight Bernie was booed, and he clearly got angry with it. He started challenging the audience. And in fact, this is the secret recipe for the other candidates. They put people, supporters in the audience to challenge Sanders when he makes statements like that, and it rattles him. We've never seen that before. The other key for Sanders is that he has to, in some of these states, Super Tuesday states, Republicans and independents can vote in the Democratic primary. They're open. Sanders is going to have a tremendous problem getting anyone who isn't far left. So watch. They're going to be surprised in some of these polls where Bloomberg, I think, is going to win some Super Tuesday states. And I agree with Ari. Tonight, Mike Bloomberg did much better than he did the last time. The first half hour of the debate was to beat the crap out of him. He survived that, and he even ended very strongly.
Yeah, but saying he improved from the first debate, I mean, that's like, I don't know what the comparison is. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would hope so. My goodness. It was pathetic, the first debate. So he actually stood up and spoke and defended his record in New York and the big gulps and all that, and talked about how we have too many fat people. He basically said that again tonight. But I don't think there's a country is clamoring for Bloomberg. I just don't see the Bloomberg thing. I'm going to stick to what I keep saying is Bernie's, unless something weird happens. Go ahead, Chris.
You know, Laura, politics is about expectations. And he had very low expectations for this debate, so he clearly cleared that bar tonight. So we'll see what happens. This is the last debate before Super Tuesday. And as for Biden taking credit, we've all worked for elected officials. That's what they do. They are to take credit for everything, whether they did it or not.
Yeah,
Even
I
if they
got to
had
get
a small
Ari on
role
this.
in it.
Yeah, because Ari said that Biden did a great job, and Ari's just such a nice person, and I think we've all felt bad for Biden over the last few days, especially when he said he was running for Senate. But he also said this tonight, which raised some eyebrows. Watch.
150 million people have been killed since 2007 when Bernie voted to exempt the gun manufacturers from liability. More than all the wars, including Vietnam, from that point on. Carnage on our street.
350,000, mostly suicides with guns. That's half the country is killed by gun violence.
Yeah, I'm not going outside the studio tonight. There's carnage on the streets. I'm afraid to go out.
But at some point, doesn't his family or friends say, Joe, you've had an incredible career, but this...
That moment passed. He had that chance, and he decided to run for president. But look, I'll forgive him. That's just a blooper. Every politician makes a numbers mistake, something like that. Biden's issue, though, is that's been his whole persona the entire campaign until tonight. And on the eve of South Carolina, when he needs that win just to stay in the race, I think he saved his campaign for South Carolina tonight.
I think so, too.
If he does a good race in South Carolina, he lives to fight on Super Tuesday without any money, though, and that'll be his problem.
All right, Frank, there was a moment when Bernie was talking about the economy and how it works for just a small sliver of people. Watch.
The economy is doing really great for people like Mr. Bloomberg and other billionaires. For the ordinary American, things are not so good. Last year, real wage increases for the average worker were less than 1%. Half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. That is not an economy that's working for the American people.
Frank, does that work? The economy is not working.
There's a better question than that. And it's a question, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? 61% of Americans, an all-time high, say yes. They've been asking that question since 1980. It's never been higher than that. What Bernie Sanders doesn't understand is that the average American not only is better off today than they were 4 years ago, but they're expecting the economy and their own situation to improve. He's making a big mistake, and really the only winner tonight, and I've been occasionally critical, the winner tonight is Donald Trump, because what the American people saw is chaos. They were tearing each other apart. They could not control each other, and the public does not want that. Not only the Democrats, but the general public does not want that.
Yeah, I wish we had time to talk about how the moderators did, because that was an interesting approach. It was kind of just...
They were horrible.
No, I didn't. I mean, and it's nothing personal. It's probably hard to do that. I've not done that except with you guys, and you guys are pretty... You follow the rules pretty well. But when people just don't stop talking, it is a difficult situation. Poor old Biden kept saying, nobody respects me. Like, he kept saying, nobody respects a nice gentleman.
But
that was
Laura,
sad.
They never asked Biden about his getting arrested in South Africa. They missed an opportunity to actually ask a real question.
All right, you guys. See, I can control this conversation.
What happened to opening statements in these debates? Maybe get off, maybe slow roll it,
Yeah, and by the way, we all know they're for
attack.
They're for pot legalization. Okay, we all know that. We didn't have to spend 5 or 10 minutes on that subject, so I'm not sure why that was brought up. All right, gentlemen, thanks so much. And